Once upon a time, in a quiet valley, there lived a gentle little girl named Rosalind. She was known to everyone as Little Red, for she always wore a bright scarlet cloak with a hood that her grandmother had sewn just for her. The fabric was soft but warm, lined with care, and it glowed like a flame against the green of the trees or the white of winter snow. Little Red wore it with pride wherever she went. Little Red lived with her mother in a humble cottage at the outskirts of the village. They kept a garden full of herbs and vegetables, a few chickens, and a goat that provided milk. Not far through the forest, in another small dwelling covered with roses and ivy, lived Little Red's grandmother. Though age had slowed her steps, she was wise and loving, with eyes that twinkled when she told stories and hands that baked the best honey cakes in all the valley. One morning, sunlight spilled across the fields, painting the world in gold. Little Red's mother was preparing a basket. She placed in it a loaf of bread baked that very dawn. She said gently,
"Rosalind, your grandmother has not been feeling her best. Take her this basket today, and stay with her a while to cheer her. But remember, child, go straight along the path. Do not wander into the forest."
Little Red nodded earnestly.
I promise, Mother. I will stay on the path, and I will hurry straight to grandmother's.
She kissed her mother's cheek, pulled up the scarlet hood, and lifted the basket carefully in her arms. Her mother watched her go, her heart filled with both love and worry. She whispered a small prayer for her daughter's safety as Little Red disappeared beneath the green canopy of the forest path. The forest was a world of its own, vast and mysterious, alive with whispers. The air was cool and rich with the scent of moss. Birds trilled bright songs, and squirrels chattered. Little Red skipped lightly along the path, humming to herself. Her basket swung at her side, and every so often, she paused to admire a butterfly or listen to the babbling of a hidden brook. But far in the undergrowth, sharp yellow eyes followed her every step. The wolf had been waiting, watching the road where travelers sometimes passed. He was clever and patient, and his mind was as sharp as his teeth. When he saw the little girl in her red cloak, carrying a basket that smelled of food, his mouth watered. Yet the wolf was cunning. He knew that if he frightened her too soon, she might run and escape. No, he would use guile and trickery. He stepped smoothly onto the path, his voice soft and friendly.
Good day, my dear child. What brings you into the forest on this fine morning?
But the wolf's voice was smooth as honey. She answered politely.
I am going to my grandmother's cottage. She lives at the far edge of the forest, near the 3 tall pines.
The wolf's ears pricked. He now knew exactly where to find his prey.
Bread, butter, cheese, honey, and apples.
Little Red, honestly. The wolf's lips curled, but he hid his sharp teeth behind a smile.
Wouldn't she be even happier if you brought her some flowers? Look, child, see how the violets bloom just beyond them.
Little Red's eyes widened with delight. Flowers! What a splendid idea! She had not thought of it herself, but it seemed so fitting. She said,
Oh yes, grandmother loves flowers. I shall pick some for her,
said the wolf with another bow. The moment she turned away, the wolf's eyes gleamed wickedly. While Little Red strayed into the meadow to gather daisies and violets, the wolf darted down a shorter trail he knew well, swift and silent as a shadow. His paws carried him quickly to the cottage before Little Red was halfway there. Grandmother's cottage stood snug and tidy, with roses climbing over the doorway. The wolf knocked at the door, disguising his voice to sound soft and sweet. Grandmother opened the door, but when she saw the wolf, her heart leapt in fear. She was frail, but she was clever. Before the wolf could leap upon her, she slipped out the back door and ran into the garden, hiding among the apple trees. Her heart pounded, but her mind was sharp. She would wait and find her moment. Meanwhile, the wolf, impatient, snatched up her nightcap and spectacles from the table. He pulled them on, climbed into bed, and drew the quilt up to his chin. At last, Little Red approached the cottage, carrying her basket and a bouquet of wildflowers. But she paused at the doorway. Something was strange. Still, she stepped softly inside. She called,
Grandmother? It is I, Little Red. I've brought you food and flowers.
A raspy voice answered from the bed. She tiptoed closer, but as she set the basket on the table, her eyes narrowed. Her grandmother looked odd indeed. The face beneath the cap was shadowed, and the hands gripping the quilt seemed coarse and hairy. Said Little Red slowly.
Grandmother, what big eyes you have.
Wolf answered, his voice rough but eager.
All the better to see you with, my child.
Grandmother, what sharp teeth you have.
All the better to eat you with.
Roared the wolf, leaping from the bed. Little Red cried out in terror and stumbled backward. At that instant, the door burst open. Grandmother, who had been hiding in the garden, charged in with her stout walking stick raised high. She struck the floor with a thunderous crack. The wolf, startled, turned. Just then, a woodcutter passing by, drawn by the cries, rushed through the doorway with his axe. Seeing himself trapped, the wolf snarled, but fear gripped him. Outnumbered, he darted through the open window and fled into the dark forest, never to return to that part of the valley again. Little Red collapsed into her grandmother's arms. Grandmother kissed her forehead. The woodcutter smiled kindly. Grateful beyond words, Little Red unpacked the basket. Together, the three of them shared bread, cheese, honey, and apples. They laughed and talked until the fear was gone, replaced by warmth and joy. Sunlight streamed through the windows once more, and the forest outside seemed peaceful again. From that day forward, Little Red never forgot her promise. She still loved the forest, its flowers and its songs, but she walked the path wisely, with both courage and care.